Hey guys, welcome to the J Talks Hoops live show. Doing a mailbag here. Just figured, I got some time to kill. The wife's out of the house for the night, so I was like, why not go live with some of my followers and answer some questions that you guys submitted and just talk hoops. So before we do that, let's talk about what the Chicago Bulls did last night. That game winner last night, Nikola Vucevic, all the props in the world to you for making that game winner. That was a crazy shot. We should not lose sight of how crazy that pass was by Kobe White, too. One of the best passes you'll see in an end of game situation like that. Totally turned around, still found the wide open shooter. But we can't come away from this game without throwing a little bit of criticism Nikola Vucevic's way. I didn't think he played that good yesterday. Watching the game, I really didn't think he was that good. I know the stats were there on the offensive end. He was kind of our whole offense until Kobe got going. But on the defensive end, man, he was such a train wreck. Donovan Klingon had 21 rebounds. 10 of them were offensive rebounds. The Blazers as a team, they had, I think, 26 offensive rebounds. And this has been a problem with Vucevic all year, even longer than all year. It's been a problem his whole Chicago Bulls tenure is he just gives up crazy amounts of offensive rebounds. He doesn't show a lot of hustle on the defensive end. He doesn't move his feet. It was a game where the Chicago Bulls were up like 22 going into the fourth quarter, and the Blazers were able to rally back, and it took a crazy Kobe White three to get it close, and then that Vooch three to win it. So a lot of people they're feeling really good after that Nikola Vucevic game-winning shot. The Bulls getting another win, but it's not a win that I'm necessarily going to ride home about. So let's get into some of the mailbag questions here. First one we got. Once again, most people submitted them on Twitter. I threw it out on TikTok too. Didn't really get too many people submitting questions on TikTok, but on Twitter we got like 10 of them to run through here. So first one up, what is your most boomer sports take? This is a good question. I'm turning 36 in a week from now, actually. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a sports boomer. I got some old man takes for sure. Um, Most boomer sports take. Let's see. Is it a boomer sports take to say that the NBA should start calling traveling violations a little bit more and palming violations a little bit more? Like the stuff that these guys get away with when they're handling the rock, it's kind of crazy. Like they can just get that ball all the way under their palm, turn it over. I was watching the Rocket game the other day and or yesterday against the Cavs, and there was a sequence where KD was dribbling at the top of the key, and he literally it was one bounce, 3 seconds as he palmed the thing, one bounce, 3 seconds, like the stuff they're allowed to get away with ball handling. Don't even get me started on the two steps in the gather and the Euro step, all this stuff, like stuff that should have been called traveling years ago. They just started letting it slide a little bit. So if you're asking me my most boomer sports take, yeah, that's probably it. Is that the NBA they should start calling traveling. They should start calling palming more. Um, I got into it a little bit on Twitter earlier today because I was talking about, the amount of games that people are playing. So I guess this might be a boomer sports take, but I really don't think they should shorten the season at all. A lot of people seem to think that that is the solution to this rash of injuries that we're seeing, but the data actually does not back that up at all. If you look at the data and the amount of injuries, most of the injuries, the highest injury rate in the NBA season is actually the first 2 months. If the length of the season was a problem, we would see more injuries towards the end of the year, more injuries in the postseason. I think people think the length of the season is an issue because of the last postseason where we saw three guys go down like that, but that's really an outlier. Like if you go through it, I've been watching basketball for like 30 years now. Last postseason was really the only postseason where we had superstars going down like that. The only other ones I can think of really were 2015, Kevin Love and Kyrie went down for the Cavs, which totally affected the Warriors series for sure. And I think it was like 2003 that Chris Webber tore his knee for the Kings. But outside of that, it's not like guys are consistently getting injured in the postseason. So a lot of people are saying we got to shorten the season, but the data doesn't correlate to that. Like we just had a really bad postseason last year where three superstars happened to tear their Achilles. That does not mean the season is too long. What's really the problem, and I think Frank Kaminsky tweeted about it the other day too, is he was agreeing with somebody who said that it's not the games that are the problem, it's not the back to backs, it's not the workouts, it's not the shoes, it's the way the game is played now, where it's just go go go. Analytics have kind of taken over. Everybody's looking for a 3 point shot. They're looking to keep the pace up. There's less half court offense. There's less standing around in the game, which obviously puts your body under more stress when you're playing. So Yeah, the way he was breaking it down, he was agreeing with it, but he was also saying the AAU culture definitely plays a part. But yeah, if you're asking for another boomer take of mine, it's that we don't need to shorten the season. You know, guys have been playing 82 games since what, 1965, if not longer than that. So shortening the season, not only do we not need to do it, because as I said earlier, the data shows the highest rate of injury is actually at the beginning of the season, not the end of the season, but it would just mess up the historical record of a lot of this stuff too. So, as far as other boomer takes that I might have, I'm trying to think if I have any boomer football takes. Um, Maybe that I missed when the game was violent. Like growing up, I loved Ed Reed. I loved Brian Dawkins. I played safety in high school, so I always tried to emulate those games. And those guys could maybe be able to play 5 minutes today before they got thrown out of the game. So, good question though. Most boomer sports takes. I do have a lot of boomer sports takes, but those would definitely be the three that I would go with. Let's move on to the next question here. Like I said, most of these were submitted on Twitter. But if you guys want to throw any into the chat here as you're joining the chat, happy to throw them into here too. Next one comes from at Slay Type. What do you think happens to Vooch and Collins specifically? We don't have too much size at the 4 and the 5. Any chance that we could trade for a rim protector? PJ and Herb would fit well in this system and on this team. I like those options. They help us out a lot. So the Bulls, they actually have really interesting decision to make here is they have a lot of expiring contracts. Vucevic, he's at 20 million expiring. Collins, I think, is 18. Kevin Herter's like 18. So they can get to about 56 million in expiring. So that's why people are throwing them into Anthony Davis trades and John Morant trades because they can take expiring contracts, which these teams getting rid of these guys that want to blow it up, that want to start over, that's very attractive to them. They can take those, they can pair it with their draft picks because they have full control of it, and maybe they can go star hunting. I don't think that's what they should do at all. I think they should be patient and let it play out through the deadline and see who's going to be looking to tank, who's going to be looking to sell off some of these long term contracts. And I don't think they specifically need a superstar. I look at a team like New Orleans. If they keep losing, are they going to be looking to offload the contracts of Trey Murphy or Herb Jones? I would love to have either of those guys on the Chicago Bulls. I'm looking at the Mavs. They're another team. They might need to blow it up soon. I don't want to trade for Anthony Davis. I definitely don't want to trade for Kyrie Irving. But Daniel Gafford, he's a name to keep an eye on. PJ Washington, those are two guys that they have longer term contracts. I think Gafford just signed an extension, and PJ got an extension the year after they traded for him. So they got years left on it at decently high numbers, but I would definitely like to take those guys on if I was the Chicago Bulls. So when it comes to, Vucevic, Collins, and Herter's expiring money, I wouldn't package that to go star chasing at all. I would look around the league at some of the struggling teams and see if there's any role players, any younger role players specifically who can contribute to this team. Because as much as I like what Kevin Herter does on the basketball court, he's a very smart basketball player. His 3 pointer is not falling at all, and their net rating with him this season is -6. So he's not impacting the game in a positive way when he's out there for long stretches. If you can turn his expiring contract into a Herb Jones, into a PJ Washington, into a Trey Murphy, obviously it's going to take draft capital too, but that would be a huge upgrade for this roster, and that would limit the amount of time we need to rely on Isaac Okoro or Patrick Williams. Even though I've liked what Patrick Williams has done this year, still don't really trust it long term. So great question there by Slay Type. Let's move on to the next one here. This one is from Halliban at Yes Sirs on Twitter. Do you think Modest should be in superstar conversations? You have certain Colts and Bulls fans that say he is a superstar, and I just want your opinion. I got a lot of shit from Bulls fans over the offseason because I said Modest Buzelis' ceiling is not what you guys think it is. A lot of Bulls fans, they were trying to say this guy can be a top 10 player in the NBA. This guy's a future superstar. And to be clear, I love Modest Buzelis. My comp for him has always been a more athletic Franz Wagner. And that's how you knew some of these Bulls fans were getting a little delusional because they heard me say he's a more athletic Franz Wagner, and they took that like it was an insult, like I was dissing Modest Buzelis. Franz Wagner is like 25, 5-5 guy in the NBA. If you're going to be a more athletic version of that, that's a very high ceiling. Do I think that he is a superstar, potential top 10 player? Bulls fans were trying to compare him to Giannis in the offseason. Hell no. I don't think Giannis is, or not Giannis. I don't think Modest is that. I don't think he can be the best guy on a championship team, which is how I would quantify a superstar or a top 10 player in the NBA. So I think he's a very good player. The guy I would love to see him take a page out of his book is Aaron Gordon, because Aaron Gordon came into the NBA. He was with the Magic. They were trying to turn him into a star. The Magic 100% wanted that guy to be, their do it all forward. That wasn't really his game. He's best off as a third or fourth option. You see him, I think he's put on like 20 to 30 pounds of muscle. That's Modest's biggest weakness right now. Is he's just too weak. He just gets pushed off his spots too much, especially as the Chicago Bulls are playing him at the four. So if he can bulk up the way Aaron Gordon bulked up, and Aaron Gordon, he bulked up without sacrificing any of his athleticism. So if Modest can go ahead and do that, then that would be great for him. It would probably be a little disappointing to the Bulls fans who seem to think he's a future superstar, but I'm telling you, Aaron Gordon is a damn good player. So yeah, to answer your question, Modest should not be in superstar conversations. Let's just get him to be like a really solid, dependable role player first, develop him maybe into an all-star a couple of years from now, and then take the conversations from here. We shouldn't be judging guys and if they're a superstar when they're what's Modest, like 20 years old right now. So let's move on to the next question here. Shout out to Halliburton for submitting that one. Like I said, most of these are coming on Twitter. I put the post up yesterday. If you guys are in the chat here, you want to submit any questions, it can be Bulls, it can be current NBA, historic NBA, whatever you guys want to talk about, open for it all. All right, let's see. Let's see if I got any non-Bulls ones here. Perfect. Got a non-Bulls one here from Aaron at AL Loves the Twins. What's the Wolves fit with John Morant? What would it take to get him? Assuming Ant and Jaden are untouchable, as John Krasinski probably agrees with. Yeah, Ant and Jaden got to be untouchable. I was trying to make like a very rough draft of who should be the Western Conference All Stars the other day, and I was trying my hardest to fit Jaden McDaniels in there because he's been playing that good. Can't fit him in there, man. But he's untouchable for sure. The way his offense has taken a leap this year has been a lot of fun to watch. Anthony Edwards, obviously untouchable too. John Morant, theoretically, maybe kind of fits because it's a good ball handler that can take pressure off of Anthony Edwards. I don't trust John Morant at all, man. I watched that entire game against the Knicks the other week, trying to figure out, what's going on with John Morant. And it wasn't good. Like he still gets space to get his shot off, but he's not making the shot, but he doesn't get enough space to get to the rim like he was before. So it's a question. I think I made a video about this the other day. It's a question of, is this Steve Francis where the athleticism has fallen off a little bit, so his game is just fallen off a cliff like we saw happen with Steve Francis? Or is this Vince Carter where he didn't want to be there anymore, so he put out a dog shit effort? As soon as he got traded, he was back to being a 27 a game guy with the Nets and one of the best 10 players in the NBA. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is John Morant falling off a cliff or if it's just him not giving any effort. I know he's not giving 100% effort. I don't know if you can explain all his struggles through that. For the Wolves, I don't think the trade really makes any sense because you would need to give up Rudy Gobert in that trade. That trade would make a lot of sense for the Grizzlies because Triple J is best next to a big center like Rudy Gobert. Makes no sense for the Timberwolves because the Naz Reid and Julius Randle front court is a train wreck on defense. They give up like 130 points per 100 possessions or something crazy with those two out there. So yeah, it's a trade where in 2K everybody would make that trade, Rudy Gobert for John Morant, but in real life the Timberwolves not going to make that trade. So shout out for the question, Aaron, but no, I don't think John Morant is really a fit with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll move on to the next one here. Back to another Bulls question. If anybody has any non-Bulls questions, happy to answer those too. We get kind of burnt out from the Bulls every once in a while. This is from Doug at Doug Siebold, Doug underscore Siebold. Do you think 45 wins or a 6 seed is realistic for this team? Would that show improvement, especially with this very young squad? I mean, it's definitely realistic. The East is such a toss up right now. I think if you look, it's like, what is it? 6 teams right now are either 8-7 or 7-6 or 7-7. Like they're all just kind of bunched together right now. So it's definitely possible. The Giannis injury is going to be huge. If he's only out 2 weeks, maybe the Bucks can weather the storm. I think they play 5 or 6 games in the next 2 weeks. So if they can remain 500 without him, they're still in it. If they lose every game without him, then they're really going to have to go on a tear. They started out the season really good, and then they crashed back down to earth. I think they're 7-7, 8-8 right now, something like that. So I believe they're out of the play-in right now. I think they're the 11th seed in the East. So as far as the Bulls go, yeah, they gotta keep doing what they're doing, man. The thing with this team is they lose to the teams they're not supposed to lose to, like the Detroit Pistons without Cade Cunningham, Sar Thompson, Jalen Duren, or Tobias Harris. They lost to the Jazz the other day, but then they beat the teams they're not supposed to beat. Like they shouldn't have beat the Denver Nuggets. They shouldn't have beat the Philadelphia 76ers, but they find a way. So they play down to their competition. So 6 seeds definitely realistic. 45 wins realistic for this team. Would that show true improvement? I guess. I mean, it kind of depends on who's leading them to these wins. If it's a lot of Nikola Vucevic game winners, then yeah, that's not really showing improvement from the young guys on the squad. If Josh Giddey keeps his level of play up, though, Kobe White keeps his level of play up, then yeah, that definitely shows improvement. And I've been somebody as a Bulls fan, I haven't wanted them to tank in the past because I want to see these guys get into an actual playoff game and see what they can do. We've never seen Kobe White in a playoff game. We've seen him in play-in games, never seen him in a playoff game. We've never seen Josh Giddey in a playoff game where he has the keys to the car. We saw him with OKC. That was the worst role possible for him to stick him in the corner and expect him to hit, catch, and shoot jump shots. We've never seen him in a playoff game with the car keys in his hands. So I would love to see what Modest Buzelis looks like in a playoff series. I'd love to see Kobe White, Josh Giddey, what all these guys look like in a playoff series because you're playing the same team 4 to 7 times in a row. They get to make adjustments, and then you got to make adjustments. So I think that the rising tide raises all boats. So the rising competition of the playoffs, if you have good players on your roster, they're going to rise to that competition. If you don't have good players on your roster, they're gonna sink to that competition, and then these aren't guys you can build around. So shout out to Doug for the question there. Bulls definitely can be a 45 win team, man. That's not really that high of a bar to set in the Eastern Conference this year. Let's see, what else do we got here? I think the rest of the ones here are once again also all Bulls questions. Man, just heavy on the Bulls questions today. Let's see. All right. Marquise at Rain PFX on Twitter. Got a couple questions lined up here. Shout out to Marquise. What's your favorite jersey that you own? So this is totally a Twitter thing because one of my Twitter gimmicks is every time it's a Bulls game day, I'll work out in a Chicago Bulls jersey. I'm a personal trainer, so I can kind of wear whatever I want to work. And I do wear a lot of jerseys. I just think basketball jerseys, they're comfortable to work out in. They're easy tank tops, especially those old school champion ones. Like sweating in those, super easy. The stitch on ones, especially the new ones, the Mitchell and Ness ones, those don't feel too great to work out in. But you get the old school press on ones, one of my favorite things to work out in. So my favorite jersey that I own. That's a good question. I own a lot. There's a couple. It's one of my ugliest jerseys because I got it in 2003 and it's still here today. But it's when the Lakers first had that white alternate jersey, the white one with the purple letters with the gold trim. I have a Kobe from them, so it's super faded, but I've had it for 20 years now. So nostalgia purposes, love that one. I got an old champion Scottie Pippen one from like the 90s. I love wearing that one too. um, I love my Orlando Magic Penny Hardaway one. It's one of the blue ones with the gray stripes. I think that's one of the sickest jerseys that's ever been put out there. So yeah, those would probably be my top. Yeah, those would be my top three for sure. Jerseys that I'd have on my bucket list. I really want to get a black pinstripes Michael Jordan one, but I'm not going to pay $300 or whatever the hell Mitchell and Ness is charging for that. That's outrageous. I want a Derrick Rose Minnesota Timberwolves Prince edition because I think his first or second year there was when they first brought those Prince editions in, and those still are some of the sweetest jerseys. They brought them back last week, but if I could get a Derrick Rose one of those, that would be sweet. I'd also take one of the black tree trunk ones that he scored 50 in with the Timberwolves for sure. Um, Old school T Mac Orlando Magic jersey, that'd be a sweet one too. So yeah, those are the favorite jerseys, and those are the ones that I still kind of want to add to the collection. Second question Marquise asked here. March Giddy seems real. If March Giddy is also real, should the Chicago Bulls re-sign him for 30 million a year? And if so, what's this core's ceiling? That's complicated because I love Kobe White. I like what Josh Giddey's doing. He's playing up to his contract for sure, but man, just the roster flexibility that you would be sacrificing to have Giddy at what's he making 25, I think, a year, and Kobe's making, if he was hypothetically making 30 a year. You're losing a lot of roster flexibility. And then Io DeSumo, he's a free agent this year too. He's going to be demanding a lot of money as well. If you're asking what this core ceiling is, it's still not a championship ceiling. Like 45 wins, a first round, a tough fought first round exit, maybe a surprise second round appearance. That might be this core ceiling. They still need a superstar, and I just don't see it on this roster. Even as good as Josh Giddey is, right now he's averaging almost a triple double. He's averaging like 20, almost 10, and almost 10. As good as that is, it's just not the same. It doesn't have the same impact as when Russell Westbrook was averaging a triple double back in the day, or when Luka gets triple doubles, or when Jokic gets triple doubles. Like stats can lie sometimes, and you need to watch the games to see, like, is Josh Giddey's triple double having the same impact as some of these other superstars triple doubles? Because it's really not. I mean, there's games where he has a triple double and the Bulls are just getting waxed the whole time. It's weird because he'll have games where he gets 10 to 15 assists, but I wouldn't say he elevated his teammates in those moments the same way when you watch Jokic get 10 to 15 assists. You can see he's elevating his teammates with those assists. So yeah, the core of this team, it's still lacking a superstar. So that'd be my only hesitation on re-signing Kobe White for 30 million while you still have this Josh Giddey contract, and then you got a potential Ayo Dosunmu contract. You got Trey Young's contract. They just, or not Trey Young, Trey Jones's contract. They just signed him to as well. So that's a lot of money to tie up in the backcourt. I don't know if Kobe's real number would be 30 million on the open market either. You look at Kobe, I love his game. He looked fantastic since he came back, but what team is paying Kobe White 30 million? There's not a lot of cap space in the NBA this offseason. The Nets have the most cap space. They're not giving Kobe 30 million. They have Cam Thomas, who's just a worse version of Kobe, and they're not going to pay 30 million just to upgrade the Cam Thomas spot. That just doesn't make economic sense. Um, and I think that's really about it. There's not a lot of teams that have that cap space. So I realize he's not a restricted free agent, so you can't go in and just match every offer the same way they had that leverage with Josh Giddey this offseason. But I don't think you just need to offer him 30 off the bat. I think you could tell him, like, look, we want you here, work with us, explore your market, but let us know what these teams are offering, and we'll see if it's something we want to hold to, or we'll see if we can counter it. Worst case scenario, since a lot of teams don't have cap space this offseason, maybe you work out a sign and trade. That might not be the worst thing for all parties involved. So last question that Marquise submitted here. AK Arturas Karnisovas, for those of you who don't know, the Bulls general manager, is not popular amongst Chicago Bulls fans. What do Bulls fans need to see for a shift in his approval ratings? They need to see him do something. Like, do something that is a winning move when it is announced. So there's revisionist history now on the Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso trade. Hindsight looks like a good trade now. Josh Giddey's playing fantastic. Caruso got a championship. Everybody's saying win-win trade. Still don't think it's a win-win trade because the Thunder not only got the piece they needed for the championship last year, they're going to win another championship this year. So I'm never going to call that a win-win trade. And the Chicago Bulls, Caruso was a better asset. Nobody was making offers for Josh Giddey with the way he looked in those playoffs, mixed with the fact he was going to be due a new contract. Nobody was making offers for him. Whereas Alex Caruso, teams were making offers for him. So it is still absolute malpractice that the Chicago Bulls did not get a draft pick with that. The trade should have, especially all the picks the Thunder had, the trade should have been Giddey and a draft pick for Caruso. I don't care how good Giddey is playing now. That's revisionist history to say that this was a good trade for the Bulls at the time. Nobody thought it was a good trade for the Bulls. You look at the Zach LaVine trade last year. They got three role players: Collins, Herter, Trey Jones, all of whom have played better than expected. But you traded a superstar, a guy who 2 years prior the New York Knicks were trying to trade you draft picks for. So what AK needs to do for a shift in his approval ratings is he needs to make a good trade. He needs to make a trade, Alonzo Ball trade, where you turn down at the deadline, you turn down offers of first round draft capital for Alonzo Ball, and then 6 months later you flipped him straight up for Isaac Okoro, a bust of a draft pick from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, those trades are going to give you very low approval ratings. So at the deadline, if he can take some of these expiring contracts, the Zach Collins, Kevin Herter, Nikola Vucevic, if he can, get them for good player, like trade those out for good players, like I mentioned earlier with PJ Washington, potentially Herb Jones, like if he can turn those into actual good players that are going to be here for a while, you might see a little bit of a shift. But until the day comes that he either drafts a superstar or legitimately trades for a superstar or wins a trade straight up when the trade is announced, he's just not going to see a shift in his approval ratings, man. So let's move on to the next question here. We got my boy Samity at Samity. Once again, for those of you watching along on TikTok or on the YouTube live, feel free to throw your own questions in the chat. All these questions are coming from Twitter posts I had yesterday telling people I was going to go live and to submit questions. So we got at Samity Yee here. From the perspective of your profession, athletic trainer, what should Giddy and Buzelis work on to improve their performance on the court? Good question. So for those of you who don't know, I'm an athletic trainer. I train, general population people, but I also work with a lot of professional fighters, football players. Have worked with a couple of basketball players in the past too. So I think I have a little bit more of a perspective on this than just, your random dude talking on Twitter or talking on TikTok. Um, it's easier to tackle this just one on one. Giddy, he needs to improve his lateral quickness. It's gotten a lot better, and it's one of those things too where a lot of this is it's just straight up genetics. Like you can do all the sprints you want, all the ladder work you want, all the plyometrics you want, but if you got slow feet, you just got slow feet, man. I've seen kids where they don't work at all. Like they have the worst work ethic in the world, but they got the fastest hips in the world. I've seen a lot of defensive backs like that, seen a lot of receivers like that where they just got quick hips, quick feet naturally. They're able to change direction. And then I've seen kids who work their ass off, bust their ass every day in the gym. And, they get a little stronger, but they're still nowhere near just the naturally gifted guys. I think athletically, that's where Josh Giddey falls into, where he needs more lateral quickness. He needs to be, a little more fluid with his hips. But from a genetic standpoint, it's just not there for them. And he has a very big frame too. That is one thing that these big frame guards are always going to struggle with is, being 6'8", what is he, 210, maybe 215, you're going to have, a slower base, and you're going to be a lot higher in your defensive stance than some of the smaller guys like the Trey Joneses of the world. So would love to see Giddy work on just the fluidity in everything that he does, honestly, get more fluid with his hip movement, his footwork, and just it really his mobility and his pliability too, because everything that he does just kind of looks so forced. Like even his jump shot looks like it hurts to shoot that thing. It does not look fluid. It doesn't look mobile. So yeah, Giddy, I would say from an athletic trainer perspective, fluidity, range of motion, pliability, those would be the things I'd love to see him work on. For Buzelis, it's all about strength, man. He's the opposite of what I was just talking about with Josh Giddey. When you watch him, he has a natural bounce. He has very quick hips. He can change direction with ease. And he's a taller guy, too. He's what, 6'10, 6'11. But his frame is so just small and lanky. And that's his biggest weakness right now is it does not take much to push him off his spot. Like it doesn't, you just hit him with a little elbow, little shoulder and throws his whole motion off because he's just not strong enough. And I think he actually lost weight last offseason and people were trying to spin that like it's a good thing, and it's not a good thing. Like I said earlier in this pod, you got to go and you got to market your, or you got to take a page out of Aaron Gordon's book where he went and he bulked up because he knew he was going to be a full-time four. He needed the muscle to contend with these guys, and he did it in a way where he didn't sacrifice any athleticism, any quickness, anything like that. So yeah, for Giddy, it's simply, just try to be more fluid, try to, work on that mobility, work on that pliability. For Buzelis, I just need to see you get stronger, big dog. I need to see you put on, 10, 15 pounds. I'm not saying you got to do what Giannis did because what Giannis did is it's kind of you're not going to be able to replicate it. People always use him as an example of hard work works, but you guys got to read the book. I think Mir Fader was the author of it. It dove into how crazy his ascension was and his growth was because when they drafted him, he had been living on the streets of Greece for most of his life, literally starving for most of his life. So his body was just as soon as he started eating even normal calories, he just grew out of this world. I'm going to assume Modest has not been starving for most of his life. So it's not going to be a thing where he's going to grow at the rate that Giannis did. So, but I need to see him put some effort into getting stronger, into growing a little bit. And Aaron Gordon would be the perfect guy for him to market that off of. So let's move on to the next question here. Okay, quick refresh, see if we got any new ones in. We got a new one from my boy Aiden Isaac at Aiden Olson on Twitter. This is a good mix here. Shout out to Aiden. He's always submitting good questions. One of my favorite Twitter followers. The best Vooch trade you'd want to see that's realistic. I'm gonna nip that in the bud, bro. Vooch ain't getting traded. People have told us for 3 years now they do not want to trade for Nikola Vucevic. I mean, the Warriors last year were basically going to get him for free. It was going to be expiring contracts and like a heavily protected second round pick. And the Warriors said, nah, that's too rich for our blood. We don't want to trade that second round pick. So nobody wants him, dude. That's the thing. That's the thing. Some people they're prisoners of the moment. Vooch just had an awesome game winner. So I've seen on Twitter all day. They're like, oh, we got to trade him now while his value's high. That's not NBA GMs don't think that way. They don't see Nikola Vucevic make a game winning 3-pointer and say, oh my God, he's this totally wipes out, the defensive lapses and the slow feed and everything else that we don't like about his game. He just made a 3-pointer. We got to trade for him. That's not how GMs work. So legitimately, I've been saying for a year now since the last trade deadline, there's no Nikola Vucevic trade out there. Just buy the guy out, let him go play ball wherever he wants to play ball. You're better with Jalen Smith on the court. The net rating has not lied about that all season long. Zach Collins is coming back soon. Your young guys would get much more heavy usage, and you'd have to rely on them more. It would be best for all parties involved to just buy him out. You save Jerry Reinsdorf a little money on the back end. You know he loves doing that. But as far as a best Vooch trade that's realistic, there's not one out there unless you're going to attach draft capital to take on another contract. So the PJ Washington one that I mentioned earlier, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. Like you look at these situations where the teams are bottoming out and they're probably just looking to offload some of these contracts. If you can get in on a Daniel Gafford or anybody on these struggling teams who's on a longer deal, then maybe you could do that, but you'd have to attach draft capital to do it. These teams are not trading for Nikola Vucevic; they'd just be trading for his contract at that point. Next question that Aiden submitted here: what are the best two leg exercises for a 30-year-old who plays basketball twice a week and just wants to maintain and not burn out too bad? Excellent question. Can definitely give you some good insight here as an athletic trainer. So my all-time favorite leg exercise is going to be Bulgarian split squats. I think the way that it isolates the quad, it lets you focus on, imbalances. You'll be able to tell right away, like, oh, my left side is stronger, or my right side is stronger. And it focuses on that quad so much. And while also you have to work your balance, you have to work your core. I prefer to do it with my leg up, on we have something in the gym that you can just kind of rest your leg on. And then I'll have two heavy kettlebells and I'll go just as deep as I can, hold for a second, explode up. You can mess with the tempo on it too. You can do a 5 count down, hold for a second, explode up. If you're playing a lot of pickup basketball, that's the way you're going to want to train, is where you're just focusing on explosion, because you want to train those fast twitch muscle fibers. You don't need to necessarily go super high rep with some of these if performance is going to be your ultimate goal. So Bulgarian split squats, all-time favorite of mine. And the next one is, I use this specifically for my basketball players, my football players, just people who want to be athletic. Hex bar jumps. So you get the hex bar. You don't have to load it very heavy. Usually when I do this one, I'll just throw a 25 on each side, maybe a 45 if I'm feeling real feisty that day. And you squat about halfway down to the hex bar is lined up with your knees, and then you explode up. You jump up as high as you can. And the point of this exercise is to jump, like do sets of 10, sets of 15, and you're working on the elasticity and the explosion of the movement. So those are my two favorite. Those would be my two leg exercises I'd recommend for a 30-year-old who plays basketball twice a week and wants to maintain, not burn out, is Bulgarian split squats and loaded hex bar jumps. And when you're doing those jumps, don't just bounce. Don't just do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like really land, absorb the shock, explode up. Try to get as high as you can on every single one. And then if you really want to get crazy, you could superset those with some band assisted jumps as well, where it's the same thing, but you take the thick bands, you attach it to a pull-up bar in front of you, and same thing, you do a half squat down and you explode up, and the band is launching you higher than you can. So it's kind of like you're training the muscle past failure. So those would be two that I would definitely recommend for you, Aiden. And the last question he's got here: do you want the Bulls to make win now moves or keep the pace and take on bad contracts? I want them to take on bad contracts, or not even bad contracts, just contracts that teams are offloading. So, like I keep mentioning, PJ Washington, I think the Mavericks are going to blow it up, and he's going to be one of the first pieces to fall. Trey Murphy, he's going to have high value if they put him on the block. The Pelicans are going to get some nice offers. Herb Jones, same thing. Daniel Gafford, same thing. But I think it would be borderline malpractice to just let the Vucevic, Herter, and Collins contracts just expire because nobody really reaches free agency anymore. Tell me the last real, true impact free agent that just signed outright that wasn't, a sign and trade or anything like that. So I think if you could take those contracts, maybe you mix a little bit of draft capital in there that Blazers pick might convey this year, and it's going to be a pick in the teens. If you can do that and get like an actual player, it's going to be around for a couple of years. I would love to do that. Think the age of taking on quote unquote bad contracts and getting draft picks back for doing that. Like that's how the Thunder built their team. They took on the Al Horford contract, Kemba Walker contract, bunch of that. There's not that many of those bad contracts anymore in the league, and the Bulls just traded one of those bad contracts in Zach LaVine last year. So I don't think they'd be able to replicate that, but I would much rather have them make. I think a PJ Washington or a Daniel Gafford trade would be looked at as win now, but really to me, those guys are young enough where you're not just bringing them in for this season, you're bringing them in for the future as well. So that would be the kind of trade I would love to see them do uh, with those expiring contracts. So let's good questions, Aiden. Appreciate the mix up of both Bulls stuff and some of the strength and conditioning questions. Like I said, been an athletic trainer for 15 years now. Was previously a professional fighter. I've played high level football, high level basketball. I know what I'm doing. I've been around a lot of high level athletes. So if you guys ever do have fitness questions, more than happy to answer them. My Instagram on that is JT Strength and Conditioning. It's not like the normal fitness influencer bullshit that you usually see. I literally just upload like what I'm doing and what my clients are doing, and if people learn from it, cool. If they don't, that's cool too. So shout out to Aiden for answering the questions. Let's get on to the next ones here. All right, at Roundball Renaissance, shout out to Roundball. He's also a good follow on TikTok too. So if you guys are here on TikTok, make sure you throw him a follow as well. Good follow on TikTok and Twitter. Who's a Bulls draft pick that you put way too much faith in? Man, that's a long list, bro. I've put a lot of faith in a lot of Bulls draft picks over the years. I thought Doug McDermott was going to be a star. Like I thought he was going to be Peja Stojakovic. That did not happen at all. I wasn't super high on Patrick Williams. I can remember watching that draft, and I really wanted Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's been a much better player than Patrick Williams, but drafting Obi Toppin wouldn't have made the Bulls necessarily better than they've been the last couple of years. So that one's kind of a wash. But I never had Patrick Williams faith. Never had Daniel Gafford faith either. Really, a lot of people are mad that we lost him, and he's a damn good player too. But to me, those kind of rim runners, there you can find them pretty easily. So when the Bulls traded him away, I wasn't necessarily heartbroken, but now I kind of wish we had him back. But some people talk about him like he was Will Chamberlain with the Bulls. Um, Denzel Valentine, he's a guy a lot of people believed in over the years too. I never had Denzel Valentine stock, man. That's another one where I was like, come on, man, what are we doing? The number one Bulls draft pick that I put way too much faith in over the years, it's easily Tyrus Thomas. I thought Tyrus Thomas was going to be the next Amari Stoudemire. I thought maybe he could grow his game, be a little bit like Kevin Garnett someday. Like I thought this dude was just going to be a freak athlete who could run the rim, who could, dunk on people and block shots on one end and would just change the trajectory of the Bulls. But man, he just wasn't that. Like it was a lot. It seemed like a lot of off the court stuff with him, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work with Tyrus Thomas. They traded him to the Hornets. His career bottomed out pretty quick after that, but he just wasn't it. So yeah, the Bulls draft pick that I put way too much faith in, definitely Tyrus Thomas. I don't think that there will be a number two on that either. I think I got a couple of questions submitted here in the TikTok chat. Let me scroll up. But yeah, if you guys don't know who Tyrus Thomas is, because I realize now he was drafted almost 20 years ago, so a lot of people probably don't remember who he is. Go on TikTok, find his highlights. Just type in Tyrus Thomas, find his highlights, man, and just go watch them because that guy was a freak athlete. He was dunking on everybody in college. He had like a LSU. It was a typical thing where he had a big time run in the NCAA tournament. Before the tournament, I don't even think he was thought of as a first round pick. After the tournament, suddenly he's going, what do you go, number three? And we traded the rights to LaMarcus Aldridge for him. So one of the worst trades in Bulls history, but I 100% believed in that kid. So let's move on here. The next question from at Poverty Chicago, what is the range you would want the Bulls to offer Kobe White this offseason? I kind of already covered this one with the question earlier on if I'd want to commit to Kobe at 30 and Josh Giddey at 30. Yeah, it'd be like 25, 30 tops, I guess. 30 tops would be the most for Kobe White. But like I said, man, it's just the Bulls roster, it's so weird. It doesn't it's winning, but it doesn't make sense because we got Josh Giddey, we got Kobe White, we got Trey Jones, we got Io DeSumo. These guys are all guards. Io DeSumo can play the three a little bit. He's a little lankier. Kind of reminds me of Bruce Brown in that way. But these guys are all guards. So Io, he's going to be doing a new contract as well. He's probably going to get, 18 to 22 mil from a team on the open market this year. Kobe. So if you're paying Giddy, what do you get? 25. Kobe, he's at 30. Trey Jones, I think, signed for 12. And then if Io DeSumo, or if Kobe, or no, if Io's getting 22, if you're bringing all those dudes back, like that's like 60 to 70% of your cap just on guards, man. So I don't know. If we lose Kobe, I'm both gonna be bummed and I'm also gonna understand it. I would rather lose Io DeSumo than Kobe, but man, I don't think the way they built this roster is going to be tenable in the future. So it's going to be one of those things where this offseason, as much fun as we're having right now with the Bulls and they're winning and everything, this offseason, somebody's going to have to go, whether it's Kobe, whether it's Trey Jones in a trade, or whether it's Io DeSumo leaving. One of those three is going to have to go before next year. So I don't know. Giddy, he's definitely not going. They just signed him to the contract and he's playing fantastic. So shout out to Hoop Social. I see in the chat here. Are the Bulls building or blowing it up soon around Giddy? They're probably building around Giddy, man. Like Giddy's playing good this year. I was kind of a critic in the offseason of the contract that he wanted, but he's lived up to it. He's surpassed that contract. And the Bulls, they never blow it up. There's been so many times during the DeMar DeRozan era, the Zach LaVine era, where we are like, just blow this shit up, start from scratch. They never do that. So yeah, they're the way the season's going right now, where they're winning games and they're getting on, Sports Center and NBA countdowns and getting a bunch of highlights on game winners. This is perfect for them. Real ball knowers know that they're not a real threat in the East. Like they could have a fun little first round here. They could push the team to 7. Maybe they get lucky. You never know what happens in the playoffs. And maybe they win a first round series. That would surprise me, but crazier things have happened. But we know they're not a Eastern Conference Finals threat or an NBA Finals threat, but they're gonna make highlights this year. Going to be competitive. They're going to sell a lot of tickets. They're going to sell a lot of merch. So Jerry Reinsdorf, man, he's loving what he's seeing right now. So there's zero chance that they're going to blow any of this shit up, unfortunately, because honestly, like this draft is really good. This Cam Boozer kid looks good. This AJ kid looks good. Peterson in Kansas looks good. I don't know why the UNC kid Wilson, I don't know why he's not getting more love because every highlight I see of him, he looks like a fucking killer too. So if there ever was a draft to tank for where if you don't get a top 3 pick, you still might get a really good guy at 4 or 5. This draft seems like it would be that draft. So let me do a quick refresh here. I think I hit all the questions. Got one more here at Dre Black Ice. How mad are you that the Bulls passed on Derek Queen for Noah Essengate? Pretty fucking mad, man. Pretty fucking mad. The caveat is Billy Donovan would not be playing Derek Queen. I mean, shit. Willie Green didn't even want to play Derek Queen. And really, Willie Green was not a good NBA coach. Obviously, he got fired for a reason. But the only reason Derek Queen played is because they had injuries to Looney, injuries to Missy, injuries to Zion. It kind of forced his hand. But if the Bulls had taken Queen, we would just be sitting around doing what we're doing with Noah Essengate right now, where we're like, can we see the kid play? Can we just see it? But that's not what the Chicago Bulls do. Billy Donovan does not play rookies. So yeah, I wish they would have taken Derek Queen over Noah Essengate because Queen. Last night I was watching that game. He looks fantastic. He has a cosign both from Tim Duncan and from Nikola Jokic right now. So that should tell you how good his talent is and how much other players who've been there before see in him. But the real downfall of the Noah Essengate thing is they turned down the Pelicans offer. So they could have had the Pelicans unprotected first round pick here. So the Pelicans could have moved up and taken Derek Queen with the 12th pick. And I've heard people say like, "Oh, we don't know for sure that offer was ever really, on the table." It was absolutely on the table. There's no way that the Pelicans only offered that to number 13. They were offering it to 8 through 13, and the Hawks were just the team smart enough to take it. So that's the real downfall, is that the Bulls didn't accept that trade and go ahead and have their pick next year. And then maybe they could have got Noah Essig, because reading mock drafts before the draft, people were kind of down on him going into that draft. There were legitimate concerns about him. So another question here from Hoop Social: what's the Bulls ceiling this season in reality? Is their record indicative of who they are? Yes, the Bulls are who we thought they were. They had a really hot start, 5-0. A lot of people, we were having conversations, is this team going to be legit? Can this team get close to 50 wins? Like, some of the conversations got a little out of hand for sure, but you saw in their loss against the Pistons G League team, you saw in their loss against the Jazz, this is still the same team that will play down to their competition. And when the three-pointer isn't falling, or the three-pointer is falling for the other team, it's just really hard for the Bulls to keep pace. So they blew that 22-point lead to the Blazers last night, even though they ended up winning eventually, because their three stopped falling and the Blazers' three started falling, and the Bulls are not a good defensive team. So their ceiling is probably, first round exit, maybe getting lucky. If they got to the second round, it'd be a sweep for sure. So, yeah, the Bulls, they're better than I thought they were going to be this year. I thought they were going to be a playing team, but yeah, it's still not a championship team by any means. Make no mistake about that. Too many people looked at that 5-0 start and really thought like, "Oh, this team could be this year's Indiana Pacers." Nah, dude, like, the Pacers, they're so far ahead of what the Bulls have, just because they had Pascal Siakam, who is a guy who you can legitimately give him the ball in high intensity playoff situations, and he'll go get a bucket for you. So the Bulls, as much fun as we're having with their run this year, they're still not anywhere near the Pacers level of last year. What's Nikola Vucevic's value right now? I don't think he has value, man. I really don't. I think he is strictly an expiring contract. Like, there's no way that teams saw the game winner last night and were like, okay, this wipes away all of our concerns about him on defense, or the fact that he needs low post touches to be effective, or the fact that he's honestly not that great of a rebounder. Like, Donovan Klingon had 21 rebounds yesterday, 10 of them on the offensive glass, and most of them against Nikola Vucevic. So the thing that anybody who's watched the Bulls this year has seen, is that they are much better when Jalen Smith is on the court than they are with Nikola Vucevic on the court. So yeah, even though he's had a couple highlights, a couple game winners, a couple clutch shots this year, it's still the same Nikola Vucevic we've been dealing with for years here. So appreciate all the questions, guys. I think that wraps it up. I think that's the last one here. So if you guys aren't following on Twitter, make sure you do, at J Talks Hoops. If you're not following on YouTube, same thing, J Talks Hoops. And yeah, appreciate all the questions. And make sure, if you are following on TikTok, make sure you share this video. I'm going to share it on YouTube too. Going to share it on all the social media. Same handle on all of them, J Talks Hoops. Appreciate it, guys.